Hey everyone, this is Ivan for Yun for the 220 at 220generation.com. We have just shared a video where we said how you can balance marriage and ministry. It was an important thing to share because I wanted to warn you and speak to you about it before you get into the whole thing, so that you can see and know what to look out for and what is important if you are married or if you are going to be married. Now I want to just quickly talk to you about your personal preparation for the meetings. You have now taken care of all the external elements for the meeting and all the things that you need to get sorted and planned and all that kind of stuff. But now, before you have your first meeting, we're going to talk about when your planning ends and when you get all the stuff done after this one, I think. But you need to personally prepare spiritually before you start your first meeting. It's very important for you to be prayed up at all times when you deal with the ministry, praying so that God leads you, the Holy Ghost, everything. When you plan the meeting, when you're busy with the elements, surfing the web for stuff, so that you can hear God and when what He wants you to put in and He wants you to do. Now I want to talk here quickly about gifts. That's how you prepare spiritually, is to be aware of certain things flowing in your life and getting things going. There are lots of gifts and lots of facets to it available that you need to know and need to work through, and we just want to talk to you about that in the different places where it's found in the Bible. Romans 12 verse 6 to 8 talks about the following: prophecy according to your faith, practical service, teaching, exhortation and encouragement, contributing with simplicity and liberality, aiding and superintending with zeal and singleness of mind, also acts of mercy with cheerfulness and joyful eager. These are motivational gifts found in Romans 12, and these things are things that you need to get working and developing in your own life as well. Because what you want to do is you want to also start teaching that to your youth and to the leaders especially, so that they can be aware of all this kind of stuff. A couple of weeks ago we just started building a new youth ministry from scratch at a church, and during the last 3 months these are one of the things that God led me to sort of talk about and that we needed to do. Then there are the spiritual gifts in 1 Corinthians 12 verse 8 to 10. Speaking a message of wisdom, expressing word of knowledge and understanding, wonder-working faith, extraordinary powers of healing, working of miracles, prophetic insight, discerning between true and false spirits, and the ability to interpret different kinds of tongues. Now these sound very super spiritual and they could be taken out of context, but to be aware of these and to ask God to start developing these things in your life is very important, because this is a prophetic generation and this is a prophetic time that we're living in. And especially if you've gone through the website, you would have started to understand that we're talking about a revival that's going to come through. And these gifts, the motivational and the spiritual gifts, are very important, especially for you to flow into and flow with, because you want to always be on par spiritually. If you are the pastor or even the leader, you want to set an example and you want to be one step ahead at all times. That's why it's important, and I told you to be prayed up and be in the spirit at all times, so that you can be led by God and hear His voice good. These are all the gifts that you need to start trusting God for right away, especially before you start with your official first meeting. Operating in them will give you insight, revelation and knowledge unparalleled. Operating in these gifts will reveal to you stuff that you will see in kids' lives, and they are very important for you to start really flowing in them and making sure that you know what you're doing as you're ministering, and especially when you're preaching and sharing the word. All these gifts will help you to for instance, know exactly what to say, when to say it, what to talk about, who to say it to. And regarding all this stuff, you might look at all those gifts and you might say, well, that's not for me and that's not for me. And I'm of the opinion, and I believe this, and this is where what I teach everywhere that I go, is that we're living in an era of grace. We all know that, because we are experiencing and getting God's grace at all times. John 1:16 talks about we received out of his fullness. We have all received out of his fullness, out of his fullness. That means the fullness of all that he embodies. The Holy Ghost has been poured out without measure, and therefore we have all received what these gifts. They come straight from Christ, poured out through the Holy Ghost. Jesus promised the Holy Ghost poured out from the Father. And these are things that the Holy Ghost manifests in our lives. Obviously, they won't all be working at all times, but you must expect that they will be working, and there's certain stuff. And if you know them and know what they're all about, that's why personal Bible study is very, very important, to make sure that you know the Bible and know in which instances the prophets of old or Jesus or whoever flowed in all these gifts and where they used them and why they used them. So for you to lead spiritually a youth group or a youth ministry, it's important that these things are a foundational part of your personal growth. You don't have to work for any of these gifts. They are given. Jesus himself said, what son, if he asks his father for bread, would give him a stone? So you can ask God for any of those gifts. I truly believe so. And I believe the more you flow into those gifts and get them working, the more you will be effective in youth ministry, because young people really need spiritual guidance and spiritual input. How do I get aware of them operating in my life? You do that by fasting, praying, and studying the Bible, like I mentioned before. Always be prayed up. They are there. You need to become aware of them, know them, and you do this during your personal spiritual preparation for the first couple of meetings. Then there are fruit. They're found in Galatians 5:22-23. They are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, and patience. Right. It's very important for you to also know those. Those are things that you will show forth in your everyday walk. Unlike gifts which are given, these are fruit, and fruit are grown. So they don't just manifest all of a sudden. You don't just become patient, or you have joy or love. All those kind of stuff are practiced and they are developed as you go on. These you need to develop. They are very important for this one reason. As pastor, you need to portray solid Christian character, and fruit will help you develop these. Finally, once you've taken care of the spiritual stuff, it is time to get aware of and take care of the natural stuff. We are preparing and getting ready to start the first meeting. You have gone through all the elements and all that kind of stuff. So when you have your first meeting, just a heads up on a couple of things. You want to look out for leadership qualities in young people, especially when you do group work and the dramas and that kind of stuff. Look for servants, the people who like to help. Those are the kind of people that you want in your leadership that you must later identify. We'll talk about leaders and leadership later on. Look for potential. Look for kids needing ministry. Most of the time you'll see ministry, if you have practiced or followed all these gifts that we spoke about, you'll see it prophetically, you'll see it on their faces. God will speak to you when you look at them, and He will help you. Look out for fire or excitement in young people, all the people that are there, and also try to hear God about the needs that they have. You will use that to plan your next couple of meetings and all that kind of stuff. Be attentive to this. You will start working with these soon. All these stuff that we've just spoken about. Remember, you are there to work with people. You're there to work with people, nothing else. This is Ivan Viljoen for the 220.